I'm Alex. Would you like to talk about the good book today? Lord of the Rings. Anyone who's known me for longer than about 4 seconds will know that I am, in fact, one of those people. Did you know? Did you know that? Did you know that? Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? It is, without a doubt, one of, if not the greatest story in all of human fiction, by far. I know exactly where I'm going to die, and it's this hill right here. When I say elf, what pops into your head? Okay, well, yeah, but that's not... sure, I guess? Okay, that's not very nice. No, you think of this. When I tell you to think of a dwarf, what pops in? Okay, this isn't the best example. Lord of the Rings has almost single-handedly defined modern fantasy. We wouldn't have cool shit like Dungeons & Dragons or The Witcher or Benedict Cumberbatch crawling around on all fours like this without it.
I smell you.
The world of Middle-earth has lived rent-free inside my brain since I read those 2 books? But judging from the election results, I seem to be one of the only people who knows how to read anymore. So today we're going to be taking a look at Lord of the Rings, and its many, many cinematic adaptations. Now some of these are silly, but a lot of these are really silly. I'm talking unfathomable levels of silliness previously unseen by the naked human eye. You want to get silly with me? Let's get silly. Also, Alex, you might be asking yourself, what happened to your hair? Your beautiful, lustrous boy hair. I cut it all off. No, I'm only kidding. I would never do such a rash thing without consulting my fan base first. I'm kidding again. I don't have any fans, and like the government, they should have no right to control my body. Alright, so here's a quick guide to Lord of the Rings if you're lame as fuck and haven't seen them yet. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules, but if you haven't seen them yet, you're officially lame as fuck. Like, canonically. There's nothing I can do about that. This is Sauron. He's basically like fantasy Hitler, not to be confused with the multitude of other Hitlers that now exist. He has this magic ring, which is super important, and you're just gonna have to trust me on that. There's a lot of reasons why this ring is important, but for now, it's really important. Anyways, a long time ago, this guy stopped Sauron and took the ring, but died and lost it. Centuries later, in The Hobbit, Bilbo Baggins goes on a quest with a bunch of dwarves to slay a dragon who evicted them from their mountain. Most of it isn't super important, but Bilbo does find the evil magic ring in Gollum's cave because Gollum had it, and again, you're just gonna have to trust me, it's a long story. Another, century later, Bilbo gives the ring to his nephew, Frodo, and then Gandalf shows up and is basically like, Frodo, it's evil, we gotta destroy it, you gotta carry it across the continent and destroy it in the fire. So yeah, Lord of the Rings is about Frodo taking this evil magic ring to Mount Doom to destroy and overthrow this evil dictatorial fascist leader, which is something that I find very interesting. Okay, so I'm not going to touch on these for super long. Everybody knows that Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy is the peak of all peaks. These 3 movies right here, perfection. Absolute cinematic perfection. Hated that. I hated doing that. Here's a question for you. How many Oscars did these 3 movies win? 2, 3, 7, 10? No. 17. They won 17 Fucking Return of the King won every single Oscar it was nominated for. These movies are absolute perfection. I will not be taking any notes, questions, nor criticism. Thank you, have a good day. Go watch them if you haven't already, or again if it's been longer than 6 business months.
Far over the misty mountains cold.
That was so much. That was way too much. Oh, okay, fine. Let's look at the other Jackson trilogy. I want to start off positively by saying the things I like about these movies. First off, the casting of Martin Freeman as Bilbo is awesome. He embodies the role of Bilbo so flawlessly that I don't think you could have cast anybody better. A lot of the scenes from especially the first two movies are lifted straight from the books, which they get brownie points for. I love the good morning discussion at the beginning, and riddles in the dark, and Smaug in general. And that's about it. So, real quick, way too much bad CGI. 48 frames is way too damn many. I know they fixed that in streaming, but they shouldn't have had to. There's that shitty scene with all the GoPro footage and the barrel riding, and don't even get me started on this bit with Legolas. Smaug is cool, until he's immediately killed off in the first 5 minutes of a movie that's about a battle that's entire point was that it was fucking stupid. No, seriously, the Battle of Five Armies is like a page and a half of The Hobbit, and Bilbo is unconscious for most of it. He spends 2 whole chapters before that trying to convince Bard and Thranduil and Thorin that this whole conflict is fucking dumb. That's the whole point of this. But no, here it is in 2.5 hours with shitty CGI. D tier. We're doing a tier list now. Fight me. Sue me. Yes, I know this is a Jackson movie too, but have you considered shutting the hell up? This was the movie that led to me making this video. War of the Rohirrim is an animated prequel set about 200 years before Lord of the Rings. It's based on a short story from the appendices of the good book here, and follows King Helm Hammerhand and his children during a civil war. So essentially, this guy Freka shows up, and very, very rudely demands that Helm's daughter Hera marry his son Wolf. Helm, a man of reason and rationality, politely escorts Freka outside, where he promptly one-shots him with his Helm Hammerhand's hammer hands. Wolf, a little butthurt that his dad just died, assembles an army and takes over Edoras and forces Helm and his family into the Hornburg, aka Helm's Deep. Whoa, I get it now, why it's called Helm's Deep. That's crazy. So, Wolf wants them all dead, so he picks off Helm's children one at a time, and then Helm goes out and does the one thing that he does best, and just starts beating the shit out of people with his bare hands. He fights for so long that they find his body the next morning, frozen, still standing, knees unbent, defending the gates of Helm's Deep. That's what I got on my shirt right here. Helm's fucking sick. Helm's tight as fuck. So, Helm's daughter Hera sends word to her cousin Freyolf, who shows up with an army in the spring, and they kick Wolf's ass essentially, and then Freyolf becomes king, and credits. The movie follows the story told in the appendices almost beat for beat, simply expanding and adding details where necessary. The biggest addition is Helm's daughter Hera, who is in the short story but just doesn't have a name because women hadn't been invented yet. Here she just has some more agency in the whole situation, and they tie her into the lore of the Shield Maidens, which is awesome. She basically just goes on a few extra side quests. There's this terrifying-ass mama kill scene that's awesome. It gets killed by a Watcher in the water, which, awesome, we love to see it. These orcs are a cool addition. I see people bitching about them all the time. They're not supposed to matter. None of that matters for 200 years. It's supposed to be a funny nod. Eat a dick. It's some really good shit. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. 4th best Lord of the Rings movie. You can sue me. Again.
By her hand, many great deeds were done. But do not look for tales of her in the old songs. There are none.
I don't want to do this. Okay, alright, so Rings of Power is an Amazon Prime original based on the Silmarillion and the History of Middle-earth books, which are prequel books set a few centuries before Lord of the Rings and comprise the lore of the entire universe, basically. So Amazon, in a galaxy-brained move, bought the rights to everything except the Silmarillion and the History of Middle-earth. According to J.D. Payne, one of the showrunners, we have the rights solely to The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, The Return of the King, The Appendices, and The Hobbit. And that's it. We do not have the rights to the Silmarillion, Unfinished Tales, The History of Middle-earth, or any of those other books. So they own a vague, shortened version of the story they're trying to tell, but not the actual book that they are trying to tell. which means that all of their episodes have to work in this gray area where they're not directly plagiarizing the Silmarillion, but they have to be close enough to the Silmarillion because that's what their story is based on. Does that sound confusing? Does it sound like it's gonna make a good show? Well, let's check it out. Is Rings of Power any good? No. No. This sucks. So I'm not gonna watch 2 seasons of this, but we did watch the first episode, and zooey mama. I did not like this Galadriel. I did not like this Elrond. I did not like this Celebrimbor. I did not like the Gandalf tease at the end. There wasn't much about it at all that I did like. Even the fight scenes were like, what? Like, why even send other people with Galadriel if she's just gonna solo the shit herself? Like, anyways, yikes. Cringe. Cringe. Hi, it's Stoner Alex. I know when I'm watching a YouTube video, I like to take a break every once in a while and go get a glass of water. If you know what I mean. So I'd like to give you this opportunity during my video to have a glass of water. I know I will be.
Give the glasses, crack the plates. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates. So carefully with the plates.
Okay, so these are some absolute classics, and a ton of people don't even know they exist, but they're usually credited as the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. Quote unquotes. So in 1977, an animated adaptation of The Hobbit was released by Arthur Rankin and Jules Bass. It was a pretty big hit, being nominated for a Hugo Award, but losing to Star Wars. No, that's fair. And right out the gate, this movie has some of the most breathtaking art I've ever seen. It is so incredibly beautifully drawn that I had to pause just to appreciate the scenery multiple times. The songs and poetry are lifted straight out of the book. It fits so perfectly. I genuinely can't explain how much aura this one fucking movie exudes. I mean, look at this intro.
Many ages ago, when this ancient planet was not quite so ancient, long before man recorded his history, there was the time of Middle-earth, when man shared his days with elves, dwarves, wizards, goblins, dragons, and hobbits.
Also, the character designs. Look at Bilbo, look at Gandalf, look at Thorin and Bard and Thranduil and Elrond. I got a little excited on that take. Anyways, Gandalf shows up like a crack fiend, forces Bilbo to kick it with the dwarves, and we're off. But after he makes this noise. I will say, the one and only thing I think the Jackson Hobbit movies do better than this one is the Goblin Town song. The Goblin Town song in the Jackson movie goes unequivocally hard, but it's in the extended edition, so it doesn't count.
Down, down, down in Goblin Town.
Also, one thing about this movie is they got the wrong kind of elves. That is not what Thranduil looks like. I'm sorry. Smaug is fucking awesome as always. He's got this cool ass, like, wolf aesthetic to him, which I dig. Hey, also, I noticed there was a light there, so I fixed it. You're welcome. No, I'm not gonna go reshoot the rest of this. One of my favorite things about this movie is the Battle of Five Armies, which is appropriately short and appropriately dumb. Yeah, I really don't have that much to say about this movie. It's such a beautiful vibe that I feel like the best way to experience it is just to watch it. S tier. S tier. So the next movie is The Lord of the Rings, which was released the following year in 1978 and starts with The Fellowship of the Ring. Now, you'd think this is a sequel to The Hobbit, but no. This is a completely separate animated movie made by a completely separate animation studio. This movie, directed by Ralph Bakshi, is completely something else. Instead of a hand-drawn animation like The Hobbit, this movie is widely known for its use of rotoscoping, which is where you film the shit and then draw over it and then kind of animate in between the frames. Check out Joel Haver's YouTube channel for a good example. Right off the bat, sick intro. The vibes, immaculate. The narration, on point. This one elf king, saucy as fuck. Gollum gets to make the most dramatic entrance ever, and we're introduced to Bilbo. Oh my goodness. What the fuck? So, some of this movie looks pretty good, but you'll notice that a lot of it does not. Especially once we get to Bree. I don't know why, but for some reason in Bree and beyond in this movie, the animation quality just dips drastically. Like, the Shire is pretty good, it looks pretty decent, but then we get to Bree and it's just like, I don't want to be here. Do you want to be here? I think we'll just go. I don't even know where to begin with this version of Sam. I just, look at him. Like, he sounds okay.
A deal that I didn't rightly understand about an enemy and rings and about elves, sir.
Sometimes.
Oh my! Oh, hooray!
But just, why'd they have to do him like that? Also, Gandalf does this to him for no reason.
Be careful, Frodo.
Gandalf goes and gets himself into a posturing contest with... Okay. Merry and Pippin just kind of show up. We don't get introduced to them. They just kind of spawn in. And we get our first glimpse at one of the... Oh my god, what the fuck? What the fuck is that? Why? Anyways, we get to Bree, and Merry or Pippin, they never really tell us which, gets jumped by these Nazgul who just leave him, and he's fine, and we never talk about it again. And then meanwhile, Frodo meets... Aragorn. I think yee-ass haircut will suffice for now. Anyways, you know the drill. Head to Weathertop, Frodo gets jabbed, Legolas shows up, like, who designed these? Who designed these guys? Seriously, the elves aren't even elves. They don't have pointy ears. They're just blonde dudes. They're all just blonde guys. That's it. Except Galadriel, I guess. Anyways, we just kind of hand-wave the Council of Elrond and head straight into Moria. Watcher in the water, so they get brownie points for that, which are immediately taken away because they let the Watcher kill Bill the Pony, which is slander. Tolkien would be rolling in his grave if he knew about that. Now, the Balrog itself is actually pretty damn scary, but I'm brain-rotted, so all I can think about is this meme, which has been playing in my head for about a week straight, so I'll roll the clip. Just roll the clip. Just roll the clip. You get it. You get it. Type in chat. Damn. So Gandalf dies, and then we get to Lothlorien. Very vibey, dumb pronunciations.
My lord Celeborn.
Boromir dies, and we actually get to see his funeral this time. Merry and Pippin escape, and Treebeard just kind of spawns in. We're not introduced to him either. Frodo and Sam team up with Gollum. We defend Helm's Deep, and... yeah, so this movie covers Fellowship of the Ring and Two Towers, and that's about it. There is a lot to the production of this movie, but here's the TLDR. This movie was made with the intention of having 2 parts. However, the distribution company removed the part 1 from the title because they didn't think audiences would pay to watch half a story. And because of that, a lot of people were disappointed with the cliffhanger ending because they didn't realize that it was going to have a second part. That, and Rankin Bass was already working on their sequel to The Hobbit, which this movie was unrelated to. There will be a test on all of this at the end. I hope you've been taking notes.
Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way.
Okay, so, Rankin Bass. They made The Hobbit in 1977, and almost immediately after started production on their sequel to The Hobbit, The Return of the King. Supposedly, because all this information is a little cloudy, so take it with a grain of salt, Rankin Bass had the film rights to adapt only The Hobbit and Return of the King, while Ralph Bakshi had the rights to Fellowship and Two Towers. So in 1980, about 6 months after Bakshi's Lord of the Rings, we got Rankin Bass's Return of the King, which, again, is unrelated to that movie, but is a direct sequel to The Hobbit. Capiche? Rankin Bass just nails these vibes. We welcome back Hobbit Gandalf, as well as a lot of that cast, all of which are just killer. So this movie begins at the very, very end, after the ring is destroyed, where a dementia-ridden Bilbo needs to be told what just happened. And this dude fucking spits.
Frodo of the Nine Fingers and the Ring of Doom.
Frodo of the Nine Fingers. Frodo.
Me for a good smoke while we wait. What say, Master?
Good notion, Sam.
Oh shit, same. Hi, it's Stoner Alex. So, we get a brief recap of Fellowship, and that's about it. As much as I love almost everything about this movie, it makes almost zero narrative sense. Anyways, we start with Frodo captured by the orcs after Shelob's cave. So yeah, no animated Shelob, this film is literally unwatchable. We follow Sam, who's honestly the main character here. He just kind of tanks all the orcs and frees Frodo, which I know he's supposed to, but he just kind of stays an action hero the whole movie. They do add a lot of really cool scenes, like Sam having these visions of wielding the ring and becoming a conqueror who can fucking turn orcs into animals, I guess.
One small garden of a free gardener is all my need and due. My own hands to use, not the hands of others to command.
Then we cut to Minas Tirith and the Battle of Pelennor Fields. The fighting here is actually really well done, and the Nazgul, as always, has got that shit on. Denethor just kind of kills himself immediately, and then we get the most important character in Return of the King, Grond the Battering Ram. Grond! 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 Yes, the Battering Ram has a name and lore. This is a Grond household. We stand Grond under this roof. Anyways, we get back to Frodo and Sam, who are now disguised with the rest of the orcs, and we get this absolute banger song.
Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, we don't wanna go to war today. But the Lord of the Lashes says, nay, nay, nay.
Then we cut back to the battle where Gandalf and the Witch King have this awesome standoff between each other. So the Rohirrim show up, and it is just as sick and awesome as it always is.
Right now! Right now! Right now to Gondor!
And then Aragorn shows up out of nowhere with no explanation and no ghost army, and that's lame as fuck. Like, you look like a bitch, Aragorn. Then King Theoden just kind of falls over and dies. Anyways, Gollum finally shows up, takes the ring, falls in, and this fucked up eye they drew blows up. There's a cameo from Faramir, and then we get this Greek Orthodox prayer song for an ending for some reason.
He shall rule with a true healing hand.
Whoa, hey guys, guess who's bad at endings? So, this video is not over, but it ran hella long, so I had to split it into two. Rest assured though, the other half is done and ready to go. Anyways, I just wanted to thank you for watching, I do really appreciate that, and I'll have another video out in about 2 weeks.